The Last Guardian was developed by the same team that brought us Icco and Shadow of the Colossus. We're talking about Japan's studio, and the game is also published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Production reportedly began in 2007 and was supposed to be a PlayStation 3 title, but the game took almost a decade to release and we finally got it late 2016. The game actually has some glaring flaws that are a reflection of how long the game spent in development hell. Some of the flaws include control mapping and a camera that doesn't always want to cooperate. When it comes to control mapping, it feels dated and more like a PlayStation 2 game. Jump is tied to the triangle button, for example. With other games within the same genre, we know that jump and climb should be bound to the cross button, or at least that is how our brains have been trained over time. The real unfortunate thing is that there's no way to rebind the button placement to make it feel like a more modern experience. As I mentioned before, the camera can become a hassle at times, especially in tight corridors. I think this occurs because of the difference in size between our playable character and Trico. And when you have to guide or ride Trico through a lot of these areas that are claustrophobic, it can make it very hard to see what you're doing at times. I'm no game engineer, but I have to wonder if instead of a free camera all the time, would it not have been better to have a mixture of fixed camera placement and free camera in tandem? One of the largest flaws actually works in the game's favor, however, and that is the AI for the large character Trico. When the player knows how a puzzle works, they can command Trico to act instantly, but not knowing how a puzzle works and trying to get Trico to do certain actions will actually just make Trico seem disobedient and do whatever the hell he wants to do. Like I said, this is a flaw that is apparent on a second playthrough and perhaps even late game as you come to grasp how the world and its mini puzzles work. But without prior knowledge, it makes Trico more lifelike. It makes it feel as if Trico is actually acting like an animal would. For example, when you are first training a dog or a cat, they are not always going to do as asked, but once you have bonded over time, the pet reacts differently when given direction. I see it as a flaw simply because a second or third playthrough, Trico reacts instantly when given the command rather than the way he did during the first playthrough. And whether this is a flaw that is intentional or not, I can't decide. That aside, Trico's behavior does add to the narrative, which is very simple yet mysterious. The player takes on the role of a nameless protagonist that wakes up beside Trico covered in mystical markings. What are these markings? Where are you? And how do you get out? Time to make friends with the magical beast. That's as far as I can talk about the narrative without spoiling it. It's one big escort mission that relies on both the protagonist and the large bird dog cat thing. The ending can be predictable, but you are always wondering how you got to where you are and wonder where you are going. There is a small curveball thrown at the end for a surprise, but like I said, a lot of it's predictable. The animation team does deserve a huge line of credit. Trico himself is one of the most lifelike creatures in a game to date and is well animated. Likewise for the protagonist boy, who does a good job of conveying emotion. I really like the art style of the game, but graphics do show some age. There is some screen tearing, some textures don't look as good as others in certain places, and when it comes to actual panoramic scenery, there isn't any. Just endless skybox in every direction, aside from the known platforms that serve as level pieces. All flaws aside, I really enjoyed The Last Guardian. The overall experience and journey are a true delight, and the bond you develop with Trico is one of those unique experiences that can rise above all of the game's shortcomings. In short, the game is heavily flawed when it comes to controls and camera, and perhaps Trico himself at times. The narrative is predictable, but fun, and the bond and journey you make with Trico outweighs all of that. I give this game an 8 out of 10. I highly recommend it to anyone who really likes single-player platform games. But that's my opinion. What did you think of The Last Guardian? Let me know down in the comments. While you're there, don't forget to leave a like on the video, and if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. Remember that I love your faces, guys, and I'll catch you on the flip side. But until then, have a good one.